Alright guys, this is a long plane review for 750cc on the AMSTRAD CPC, released by Codemasters in 1989. Now I'm rather pleased about this video because I got to chat to the coder and programmer of this game, Ken Murfitt, over email quite a bit about the making of this game and his earlier game that this is based on, Twin Turbo V8. And you can see that Codemasters added that to the box art here in the bottom right corner. Indeed, on Friday's AmStream, my weekly AMSTRAD CPC live stream, we made Twin Turbo V8 the main feature game, and Ken, as Scopesofter to my surprise, came in the chat and was watching with us and talked to us about his games and cheered me on as we beat the game live. Link in the description below if you want to watch that in full. Now, I've already done a separate long play and review video of Twin Turbo V8 already, which is a shame because it would have been nice to get all the making of details into that review. And we'll add a few bits as we go along here, talking about both games. But anyway, Twin Turbo was a fantastic budget racing game. Basically, Codemasters' attempt to do Outrun, and Ken did it far better than the actual Outrun game the Amstrad got. Indeed, Twin Turbo V8 went to the top of the Amstrad charts for many months, peaking at number 2 behind the perennially there Robocop, and the Darling brothers were delighted, sending a young Ken a bottle of champagne. And Ken tells me he was so pleased to meet Richard in person. The Darlings were among my role models. But let's rewind again even further of how Ken got his start. He tells me that Amstrad Computer User magazine used to run a £2,000 programming competition. And as it happens, my dad, Philip Murfitt, won that competition at the time with a character generator he wrote called Simogen. The winnings brought our family out of debt. Wow. Not to be outdone, I coded up a game called Racer, written in BASIC, which showed what could be done with palette switching to animate a perspective road and demonstrated use of the Amstrad BASIC windows for drawing car sprites. The trick to make it fast was to not clear the window before drawing the sprite. So this Racer title, which subsequently won second place in a different issue for £500, was the precursor to Twin Turbo V8, and I bought my first stereo with the money. So Ken was 15 at the time and decided, after seeing Outrun and Space Harrier in the arcades and wanting his games to move like that, he started learning machine code and realised he had a talent for it. By the age of 17, Twin Turbo V8 was out in shops and top of the Amstrad chart. So, on to the game in question, 750cc, at last. 4 minutes into the video, and that loading screen was made by Ken himself in his own art package he made as well, so very nice. There's his name on the title screen and a Scopesoft concept. So Scopesoft is Ken's sort of pseudonym for his coding endeavours. As you can see, there's laps per race of 2, but you can actually increase that to a maximum of 4 laps if you want to. But we're going to stick with the default 2 for this long play. And 3, 2, 1, go! Nice little countdown there. Nice bike noises. And some really nice music kicks in. More on that in a little bit. And as you can see, guys, if you've played Twin Turbo, it looks and feels very similar. But we're on a bike now, so there's different kind of mechanics involved here in controlling your vehicle on the road and taking bends, corners, hills and dips and overtaking. See, I'm going really fast, and there's a really nice sense of speed here. Really nice sprite scaling, and it all plays rather nice and smooth. And it's quite an exhilarating experience, especially when you're turboing around bends and just holding it in there. But yes, after the success of his last game, Twin Turbo, Codemasters were keen to get more from him, and they suggested to Ken that he should do a Super Hang-On clone. So this is obviously heavily inspired now by Super Hang-On instead of Outrun. Another big game from Sega. Sega actually followed up Outrun with Super Hang-On anyway. But He was able to reuse a lot of his twin turbo code here, as you can tell. Oh look, there's the pits. We'll talk about it in a second. But yeah, he updated. Actually, it's quite nice timing here because he updated his twin turbo code to include a pit lane, as we just saw, which was inspired by playing Pit Stop 2 on his friend's Commodore 64. Now, we're not going to use the pit lane on this long play. We're sticking to the default 2 laps, as you saw, and it just simply won't be needed. But you can increase the number of laps, and yes, you'll definitely need to get into the pits then and refuel and repair if you're doing about 3 or 4 laps per race. Oh look, I've just got knocked off my bike there, and he slides on his bum. That's a very, very nice effect there that Ken was very proud of doing, actually. So there are 4 tracks in total to compete in. The first one we're on here is Silverstone in the UK. Second track, which I can barely pronounce, Jacarepaguá in Brazil. No idea if I'm pronouncing that right or not. And then there's Ricardo in Mexico for the third track. And then the fourth and final track is Paul Ricard in France. Now, you need to finish in the top 3 to move to the next track. And, well, we got first position there. So, as long as you hit third, you can move on. And so, you're no longer racing against the clock like you were in Twin Turbo V8. It's not a checkpoint racer. But this time, we're against opponents and jostling for position. And here we are on the second track. Main thing I haven't mentioned here is the turbo, which you can use when you're past 150 miles per hour. A lot of people playing this game don't actually realise there is like a turbo feature, but there is, and it's absolutely necessary to use. But yeah, so for example, taking corners here. You want to just ease off the turbo as you come into the bend, and then sort of turbo out. Now in Twin Turbo V8, the racing game, you just come off the accelerator and then come back on the accelerator. Here, keep the accelerator on at pretty much all times, and use the turbo to slow yourself down and get grip in the bend by releasing the turbo, and then you can actually jump back on the turbo pretty quickly and just hold it, and the bike will hold on the bend. But it does help to know the actual tracks and where and when bends are coming up. So good knowledge of the track will get you through this game. This game is, I think personally, much harder than Twin Turbo. Some very, very tight bends that come at you very, very quickly. You get the signs at the side of the road telling you there's a bend, and then boom, the bend is there. So you've got to react very, very quickly. And as you can see when I'm using the turbo by the yellow light flashing on and off on the back of the bike, which is a nice effect as well. And you can see when I'm not using a turbo. And obviously the handling of the bike is very, very different, because when you push right, you're going to sort of bend the right on your bike, and it will move differently to the Ferrari you were driving in the previous game. So that takes a little bit of getting used to. As for the excellent music here, I really, really love this music, and me and Ken, we believe it's David Whittaker doing the tune there. Ken tells me he surmised this because at the time I remember being unsurprised insofar as there was no change in whoever it was that provided the music and sound effects for 750cc. David, of course, did the music for Twin Turbo V8, therefore we believe it's David doing it for this one as well. So I asked Ken how much Codemasters paid him for this, and he states that they paid me an advance for 750cc Grand Prix. This was in contrast to Twin Turbo V8, for which I was paid after the fact, since I was unknown to them before Twin Turbo V8. So I earned money as a flat payment for 750cc Grand Prix, but it never ran into royalties. We're talking low thousands here. I wasn't quite up to the Andrew Braybrook or Archer McLean standards yet. He also added that he never received a tape copy of 750cc Grand Prix, and hints that there may have been some chasing involved to get his money anyway from Codemasters. Oh dear, naughty naughty darling brothers. And he also lets me know as well, at some point in time, Codemasters wrote to me to buy the rights to Twin Turbo V8. I think I turned them down, which is silly. It would have been an easy paycheck. Maybe I still have some rights to 750cc and Twin Turbo somewhere. There we go. And yeah, you may have noticed, guys, of course, we're on a night stage, and Ken absolutely loves night stages because it featured in his very first game, Racer, featured in Twin Turbo, and here it is in 750cc. And this level is an absolute nightmare. Thank you, Ken. In fact, this track and the last track are absolutely ridiculously hard. Anyway, talking about his games, but there was to be another game from Ken, apparently, for Codemasters. They wanted to follow up to this one that was a Thunderblade clone for the Amstrad. However, he tells me the helicopter title was not released, something of a pity because it was my best Amstrad work. Oh, it's possible that he still has these discs, but they would likely be in England, and he now lives in California. Now, Ken's gone on to a great career then. I mean, his last Amstrad release was conversion work on SWIV, SWIV, which we will cover at some point. But you will see credits for him working as lead programmer on Archer McLean's Jimmy White's 2 Cue Ball, then the Midnight Club series, which was very popular, also the 2013 Sim City, and more recently, and how I came across Ken to start chatting, H1Z1. Now, you guys know, if you follow me for a long time, that I play and stream a lot of H1Z1. Indeed, it was me tweeting out about Twin Turbo V8 and H1Z1 one day that Ken, to his shock, came across me. I mean, what are the chances of someone like me loving one of his oldest and newest games? And that's how we got chatting initially. Oh, brilliant. We're now on the final track here. Anyway, Ken reminisces with me that although these early games were quite primitive, especially through the modern lens of progress, it was, however, the one time in my career that I actually got to choose exactly what to work on, and I could design the look and feel of the whole product. These one-man projects were the golden era of 8-bit computer games, and I miss having the creative control. I just love those days. As did us, Ken, as did all of us here watching. So thank you very much, Ken, for chatting to me here. The last thing to mention is ports of this game to other computers. Now, there was only one port of this made to the good old ZX Spectrum. But weirdly, this took 2 years to arrive in 1991. It was coded by Lyndon Sharp, and apart from the fact that we're racing on bikes, it's almost a completely different game. Certainly it's not sharing any code here, and Ken seems to recall that they had already coded a bike racing game but just slapped the 750cc name on it. On the speccy version, there's a really nice loading screen and well presented title screen with different music. As the game itself, there's a rather nice HUD designed as if you're sat on a bike looking through the windshield at the road ahead, and you can see handlebars and dials representing the RPM and speed along with tyre and fuel gauge. A nice sample speech as well. Countdown starts you off in the race, but the sprites are tiny compared to the Amstrad version. The most stark difference is when you tilt left or right on the bike, the horizon and the road ahead tilts with you in the screen. It's a very nice, if a little off-putting effect, spoiled a little by some colour clashing that occurs. Otherwise it runs smoothly and seems a decent racer. Just aside from the presentation, there's nothing to make it stand out from lots of other bike racing games, apart from the tilting thing, which Ken is not a fan of, nor would have approved if they'd asked him. It does maintain the pit feature of the CPC version, but overall I think the CPC original is the better game. So there we go. Also, there were no reviews of this game in Amstrad Action magazine at the time. I mean, they barely reviewed any budget games, so that's a shame. But as for me, guys, I love the graphics here. They are very, very blocky in places. But gameplay is king, and the colourful graphics go to make a nice package. And there we go, we've just completed 750cc. I really enjoyed that. I think I might have given Twin Turbo like 7.5 out of 10 last time. I can't remember. Twin Turbo gets 8.5 out of 10 from me, but 750cc, I didn't enjoy it quite as much as Twin Turbo, but I still really liked it. So I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. I think Ken is right to be proud of the game, and I think with the music, the presentation, but the gameplay is king, and the bike handles brilliantly. Controls are really responsive. The physics are done just right. I love how it holds in the bends and stuff, and how it expects you to, you know, ease off the accelerator, or turbo in this case, and then turbo out, just how it should be in an arcade racer. A little bit of text has overlapped on the ending screen there, but there we go. There's a little minor criticism there. So yeah, that's an 8 out of 10 from me. Thank you very much, Ken, for chatting to me, and I very much appreciate it. So thank you for watching, guys. Please let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you all again very soon. Goodbye.
So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please click a like below, leave a comment, and also subscribe if you haven't already. And over that way, there's another video for you to check out. Zypho, out.